everything by planes and boats. It's crazy. Let's take a look. And by the way, remember to give this video a like. My name is Noel. Over here at Verbal on Life, bringing over the real news, the positive news that we all should be celebrating. But you be the judge. You tell me. Let's take a look.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Morning Futures. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Today, destruction from all sides. New this morning, Middle East countries are warning Iran to stop lashing out or face harsh retaliation as the war widens into a family affair among Gulf nations. After 8 days of war from the U.S. and Israel obliterates Tehran, with the worst still expected to come. But the sparks are hitting consumers through an oil shock. Crude oil prices up 27% in a week. And the Qatari energy minister is now warning of a global economic shock to come.
And that's a temporary hit. The fact that gas prices might go up, but ultimately they're going to go back down. It's a temporary hit. Watch.
As a key waterway is all but shut down to global oil transportation. Just ahead, the powerful decision makers, Senate leadership, and the White House directives as we enter day 9 of Operation Epic Fury amidst a shakeup in the Department of Homeland Security. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt will be here in moments on whether the war is colliding with President Trump's domestic economic priorities, with the midterms right around the corner. Former Colonel Joel Rayburn, who ran the Pentagon's Syria and Iran policy on the state of affairs, as defense contractors are pledging to quadruple their weapons production. And the cost of war is spiraling up to $1 billion a day. Senate Majority Whip and Wyoming Senator John Barrasso on $90 a barrel oil. Senate Budget Committee Chairman and South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham on a proposed $1.5 trillion defense budget. And the Gang of 8 member and House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford on the strategy to eliminate a would-be nuclear terrorist. It's all right here, right now.
So much news. And she didn't mention the fact that Trump got together all the president from the West, or from the South, to get rid of the cartels and all the drug smuggling that's happening in America. There's so much happening. Let's take a look at this.
Now on Sunday Morning Futures.
I am telling you.
And we begin this Sunday morning with the war on Iran escalating. Just as Secretary of War Pete Hegseth warned on Friday, the amount of firepower above Iran is about to surge dramatically on this day 9 of Operation Epic Fury, even as Iran's leadership has already been wiped out and its military capabilities degraded. Following U.S. and Israeli strikes, President Trump says there will be no deal with Iran without unconditional complete surrender, even as Iran continues to lash out at neighboring Gulf countries and maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz grinds nearly to a halt, pushing the price of oil higher. The Trump administration.
So it's a temporary spike on oil prices. I'm telling you, Trump is doing a genius move.
Has enacted a $20 billion reinsurance program for oil tankers and other ships to get traffic moving once again through this vital waterway, where 20% of the world's oil is transported every day. Crude oil closed above $90 a barrel on Friday. It is up 27% just in the last 1 week as China feels the impact. It buys the bulk of Iran's oil, some 90%. China buys from Iran. Now, political strategists are worrying whether the war and its impact will collide with the president's efforts to rein in inflation just before the midterm elections, where the economy and affordability is most important to vote.
A lot of politicians are scared of the midterms because they don't want to lose their seats and they don't want to lose power. So let's see if Trump's trick here works, where the Republicans are able to keep the House, the Senate, and the already presidency. The only thing is that if the Democrat wins, they're going to try to impeach Trump. So it's going to be a fight of him staying in office for the last 2 years.
Voters. Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the White House Press Secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Caroline, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Maria. Great to see you.
And of course, as the impact of this war is affecting American citizens and consumers through the increase in the price of oil, the president needs to walk a balance here. What is the president expecting to do to rein in those prices right now, where we are watching and waiting for those midterm elections in November?
Yeah.
Well, the president is watching everything, both abroad through the demolition of the rogue Iranian regime through Operation Epic Fury, and of course here at home. And President Trump can walk and chew gum at the same time. You saw him this past week at the White House hosting a ratepayer protection pledge roundtable with big tech companies, AI companies, to talk about how they are picking up the cost of electricity bills across the country and American communities to drive down costs. The president inherited the worst affordability crisis in our nation's history from Joe Biden. And look at the progress he has made in the course of the past year. Now, with respect to what's happening with gas prices right now, this is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain of taking out the rogue Iranian terrorist regime and finally ending their restriction of the free flow of energy in the Middle East and in the Strait of Hormuz. And even with this short-term period throughout Operation Epic Fury, the president and his energy team are on the ball. They've announced political risk insurance for cargo vessels and oil ships that are going to be moving through the strait. They've announced that the U.S. Navy, if and when necessary, will escort those tankers to ensure that oil can move.
Yeah.
The president is also tapping into our newfound market in Venezuela, where, again, there were a lot of panic-ins about that military operation. And look at the success. We are working in a cooperative manner with the interim authorities to bring that oil into the market as expeditiously as possible. And so, again, this is a short-term disruption. We're seeing a slight increase in oil and gas prices, but ultimately taking out the rogue Iranian regime is going to be a good thing for the oil industry, and those prices are going to come back down just like they have over the course of the past year because of President Trump's American energy dominance agenda.
Trump is doing so much, and the regular news don't want to give him any props. They stay quiet about the crazy things that he's doing because they're actually not crazy. They're good things. All the Iranians around the country are celebrating the fact that Trump is doing them this favor. How about that? Put that on the news.
Yeah, I know that this was a major priority for the president right off the bat, coming up with that reinsurance plan in terms of ensuring that you can get traffic moving at a regular pace once again in the Strait of Hormuz. But oil executives are telling me that more security is needed. So we want to understand specifically when we might see a let up here. It feels like the Iranians are threatening the U.S., saying, yeah, come to the Strait. We welcome you to actually ramp up the fight.
Well, the Iranians are making a lot of threats with their words, but if you look at their actions with respect to their military, they're not as strong or powerful as they were 9 days ago. That is for sure. We have completely wiped out their Navy. Their Navy is now deemed combat ineffective. Their retaliatory strikes with ballistic missiles has decreased 90%. And as their attacks are decreasing, the power and prowess of the U.S. military is increasing. And so we are going to continue to completely obliterate the rogue Iranian regime and ensure that they can never possess a nuclear weapon, that their ballistic missiles can no longer threaten U.S. personnel.
We went through 47 years of Iran threatening that they are this close to building a nuclear weapon. So finally, Trump stepped it up and cleared that rumor.
And our assets in the region, and the mere fact that Iran is now pointing their capabilities at their Gulf partners in the region who have tried to remain neutral and at peace with them for many years, they're targeting civilians. It just underscores the point that this operation was necessary, not just to protect the American people and our assets and troops and bases in the region, but also to ensure a truly safe and prosperous Middle East for the rest of the world. And President Trump is the first president in nearly 5 decades to actually have the courage to do this, and he should be commended for it.
Yeah, and the president had an interesting exchange on Air Force One over the weekend, Carol. I want to get your take about this idea of troops on the ground. Mothers out there are worried that we're going to have a draft, that they're going to see their sons get in and daughters get involved in this. What do you want to say about the president's plans for troops on the ground? As we know,
as a matter of fact, people want to sign up to the military voluntarily. So there is no drafting people.
It's been largely an air campaign up until now.
It has been, and it will continue to be. And President Trump wisely does not remove options off of the table. I know a lot of politicians like to do that quickly, but the president, as commander in chief, wants to continue to assess the success of this military operation. It's not part of the current plan right now, but the president, again, wisely keeps his options on the table. But as commander in chief, there's no greater priority or responsibility to this president than, of course, protecting the American people and protecting our troops and our bases in the Middle East, which Iran has been threatening for 47 years. They have killed and maimed thousands of American soldiers, and President Trump was not going to allow Iran to attack our bases and our troops and our men and women in the Middle East first. And that's why he took this historic action by launching Operation Epic Fury.
Yup. And only 6 we have lost. 1 person is a lot. We lost 6 and it was a mistake. That shouldn't happen again. I don't think they're going to get any more kills or American kills.
I mean, the president is also trying to protect elections. So in the middle of all of this, he is talking about the SAVE Act, Caroline. And I want to put up this tweet that the president put out yesterday. Over the weekend, he's been talking about the SAVE Act. And in this tweet, not only does he reiterate the point that you have to have ID to vote, all voters must show voter ID, all voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote, no mail-in ballots except
just common sense, which should have been implemented years ago.
For illness, disability, military, or travels. But he also adds to this 2 more items. No men in women's sports, no transgender mutilation surgery for children.
Nope.
Caroline, you've got to explain this to us because already the president is getting pushback from Democrats. They say this is dead on arrival. Why would the president want to muddy up this issue and add transgenderism and no men in women's sports right now, when the issue of all voters getting proof of citizenship has already been accepted by some Democrats like John Fetterman?
There should be no pushback to any of the common sense proposals in the Save America.
As a matter of fact, anybody that pushes back should not get a single vote. That just lets you know that they're crazy in their head. Do not vote for the crazy
Act. Let's talk about what is in this bill and what President Trump is pushing for here. Mandatory voter ID in the United States of America. 90% of our country, Democrats and Republicans, support this common sense solution to secure American elections. The only people in this country who don't support that are radical left Democrats on Capitol Hill. That's number 1. Number 2, requiring U.S. citizenship to register to vote. Another common sense measure that absolutely must be done to secure our elections and the future of our country. And with these other 2 ideas, with no men in women's sports and with ending transgender surgeries for minor children, these are common sense proposals and policies that, again, are backed by the vast majority of our country. If you look at the public polling from Americans on both sides of the aisle, most Americans don't want young children to be going through gender mutilation surgeries. Most Americans don't want men competing in women's sports. These are these are winning issues for the American people. They are losing battles for politicians on Capitol Hill. And that's why all members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, need to pass the Save America Act as soon as possible.
Real quick, Caroline, before you go, the president has removed Kristi Noem from the Department of Homeland Security and put in, hopefully,
Kristi Noem just switched her position. She's still working for the administration, just doing something else. Not fired.
Markwayne Mullin. Will he get confirmed? The governor there in Oklahoma has to name someone on a temporary basis. We're wondering when that confirmation hearing will happen on Markwayne Mullin.
Yes, we are totally confident Senator Mullin will be confirmed, and we're going to work with the Senate to make sure that happens as quickly as possible. And Democrats on Capitol Hill need to fund the Department of Homeland Security. It is absolutely crucial that we get our FEMA workers paid, our TSA agents paid. President Trump has been calling on them to do this for weeks, and it's ridiculous that they're shutting down this department for blatantly political reasons.
All right, Caroline, great to talk with you this morning. We so appreciate you addressing all of these issues with us this morning. White House Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Thank you, Caroline.
Thanks, Maria.
And now this.
I think a really foolish move by the Iranians was to hit the Arab countries in the Gulf who really had wanted to stay out of this, but now are in it because of strikes against civilian targets in their countries, the Gulf states. And now their aircraft are already flying as part of the overall defensive effort.
And that was General David Petraeus with me here last weekend on Iran responding to the United States and Israeli strikes by attacking their neighboring Gulf countries, including Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates. Joining me now is Colonel Joel Rayburn, former special envoy for Syria and former senior director for Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon on the National Security Council. Colonel, thank you very much for joining.
And real quick, you know what's crazy? Every time they get together to try to pick a new leader, you know, the bad guys get together, boom, they get blown up. So far, it happens twice, where like over 50 men on their side die from getting together trying to pick a guy. What the hell? No secrets.
Us, there were reports that the United Arab Emirates wanted to hit back at Iran. Now you've got the Gulf countries saying, you better stop lashing out Iran or there will be harsh retaliation. Your assessment of Iran attacking its neighbors?
Yeah, Maria, and it's good to be with you. I agree with you 100%. It's been a very counterproductive strategy. I think the Iranians miscalculated. They believed that if they could lash out in the first couple of days of this confrontation, they could devastate our Gulf partners and allies and then lead them to put political pressure on President Trump to call off the operation. I think they really misjudged both President Trump's determination to secure the objectives he laid out, and they also misjudged the Gulf allies' will and their ability to defend themselves as well. It's been a really counterproductive move, I think, by Tehran.
Look, the Strait of Hormuz is the area we're watching most closely here. This is the reason that you've got this choke point and a standstill in traffic pushing oil prices higher. What are you expecting in terms of the Strait of Hormuz? What can the president do to get this tanker traffic moving in a real way quickly? Because oil CEOs are telling me we need more security there right now. And it doesn't happen overnight. I understand that.
Yeah, I think, well, Caroline just gave us an indication, just as the president has, that he's willing, if it's required, and I think it's going to be required, to do a naval escort mission for commercial vessels, tankers, to be able to transit the Strait of Hormuz safely in both directions. That's going to be a complicated operation. We don't know yet what capabilities the Iranians still have to be able to disrupt that. We're going to have to watch out for anti-ship cruise missiles, for their small harassing boats, and also the possibility that they might try to covertly mine the Strait of Hormuz, as they did back in the 1980s when President Reagan had to do something similar. But I think just as President Reagan was able to successfully force open the Strait of Hormuz and decimate the Iranian Navy back then, I think you'll see that happen now. It seems clear that that's what President Trump's determined to do.
Well, let me get your take on some of the weaponry being used. We had the defense contractors at the White House on Friday. They told President Trump they are ready to quadruple their production of weapons. And the president said, look, we don't even need to use Tomahawk missiles right now. They cost $2 million each, I'm told. But talk to us a little about how this air campaign has been taking place and the weapons being used. We've got a shot of the B-52 bombers. The president is likely going to push for this $1.5 trillion defense budget in 2027. And I'm told that the Pentagon is about to ask for $50 billion for a war supplemental package, and that will be debated in the coming weeks. Your assessment of the capability of the U.S. right now and versus the degraded capability.
Trump got the money, the best military on earth, an unlimited budget just to get all the bullets and weapons he needs. That's crazy. Unstoppable.
Ability of Iran and the weapons being used, Colonel.
Yeah, in terms of the ordnance, the munitions that the Air Force and the Israeli Air Force are able to deploy against Iranian targets in the interior of Iran's territory right now, it's great to see those B-52s, those B-1s, the manned aircraft be able to go over those targets, because that means we're past the phase where there's an air defense threat that forces our people to hang back and have to use standoff munitions, especially the Tomahawk missiles, which are a very precious and scarce commodity. So they're able to drop bigger payloads. But we still need to do the right thing. And I think President Trump and Deputy Secretary of War Steve Feinberg are making all the right moves to try to ramp up that production so that we can replenish those very scarce munitions quickly. Because that's a vital strategic deterrent against, for example, China, if it ever comes to that.
Yeah, China is a big part of this story as it relies on all of that oil from Iran. Colonel, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We appreciate you. U.S. Army Colonel Joel Rayburn, thank you. Quick break and then America's readiness. President Trump wants a $1.5 trillion defense spend in next year's budget as he pushes defense contractors to quadruple the pace of churning out the weapons. And law enforcement across the country is on high alert as Iran promises to avenge the death of dictator terrorist Khomeini.
You know, indirectly, we're fighting China and Russia, if you think about it, right? All the weapons that Iran has, they got it from Russia and from China. And here we got Trump just breaking down their weapons, destabilizing, using American weapons to destroy them. So that kind of puts them on alert that America is not to mess with. That's crazy. Now, Trump said it's going to last like 4 to 5 weeks. And then the defense secretary said it might last 8 weeks. I think as long as it is not a forever war, it should be good. And Trump said it's not going to be a forever war, so we don't have to worry about that. I am telling you. And I'm sorry, but I got to trust Trump's word on this. I got to believe the guy. All right, let's take a look at the next section here. What else is Trump doing to destroy Iran? It's crazy.
You are one of the few lawmakers who gets the top intelligence from the president, as you did with this war. And I remember talking with Devin Nunes when he was in the role years ago during the Russia collusion story. And I know how important your work is. Can you give us any intelligence about the Strait of Hormuz right now in terms of securing that waterway?
Yeah, so that's going to be a real challenge for us, not necessarily from a military perspective, but what you have is essentially the actuaries have said we're not going to write insurance on that anymore. So there's going to have to be some physical security measures implemented if we're going to continue to see that oil transiting through the Strait of Hormuz. This is not unlike what happened in 1988 when the Iranians mined the strait. And President Reagan had to take kinetic action to not only clear that lane, but also he struck the Iranian oil platforms in the process. And that was the beginning. I mean, we had been at war with Iran since 1947. That was the predicate of what you're seeing today. And finally, we have a president that says, not on my watch, we're going to do it and end this regime and clear that Strait of Hormuz and make sure that the oil flows to the rest of the world. Is an important corridor because China gets somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% of the Iranian oil that comes through there goes to China. So this has global impact in ways that we don't even necessarily understand. But I think the president understands that he's going to do everything he can to physically secure that strait.
Which is such an important point, and I've been making the same point on Mornings with Maria on Fox Business and on this program, that this operation is so impactful to China. The president just strengthened his hand ahead of that meeting when he goes to Beijing to meet Xi Jinping on March 31st. Tell us about that. Has China been severely impacted negatively here? Because
you know, it's nice when Trump talks nice about the enemy. He says he's good friend with Xi Jinping, the guy from China, but yet at the same time doing warfare or destroying their economy.
Because of that.
Well, they absolutely have. And I tell you another thing that's important to note about what's taking place as it applies to sort of isolating China, and that is the expansion of leadership in the Western Hemisphere that President Trump is engaging in, gathering these South American and Central American leaders together and establishing this American counter-cartel coalition. That is a huge step forward in really galvanizing the Western Hemisphere and reasserting leadership here at home.
Yeah, what a brilliant strategy. Okay, Mr. Chairman, everybody.
They always said that it couldn't be done, that the cartels were too big in the drug operations where it's too much money and too many bad guys, and Trump couldn't do it, but it's nice to see Trump actually getting it done.
He's worried about potential terrorism on the U.S. soil. I want to get your take on that next because the Iranians say they will avenge the killing of Khomeini. Are we safe? That's next with Congressman Rick Crawford. Stay with us.
Yes, we are safe. And Trump is going to make sure that none of that war crimes is coming to America. You may get a couple of maniacs that try to pull something off in America, but they quickly get taken down. Let's be honest.
Well, what we know about the Iranian regime is there are some 30 million Shiites around the world, and I'm not suggesting that they are all terrorists, but they are aligned with this regime religiously. And what that does is provide them with a global network and their ability to reach out. We just saw a potential bombing, or it was a bombing, it may have been a terrorist attack, we think it was, in Norway at the U.S. Embassy in Oslo. So we need to be very diligent about not only our security here at home, but obviously targets around the world where there are U.S. assets, including embassies and so on. So we know that that threat is there. We know it's persistent. And what that means here at home is, number one, we have to fund DHS. We've got to get these Democrats to quit playing politics with Homeland Security, because there are threats out there and they have demonstrated a willingness to exercise on those threats. And we need to make sure that our DHS is funded so we can prevent that from happening. I am a former bomb tech, so I'm all about threat mitigation. If it
And
happens
also,
left of boom, you can mitigate.
all the politicians that don't vote for this to fund the DHS, they should be shouted out. All right, their names should be made public. That these are the people who are not helping the country, and we got to get the crazy out. All the crazy people got to get out.
Mitigate that threat. If it happens right of boom, that's consequence management. It's too late. And we need to be left of boom posture all the time. We need to redouble our efforts on counterintelligence, and we need to fund DHS and make sure that they have the resources to address this problem.
Yep.
Well, what's it going to take to get the Democrats to understand that? They have yet to do it. The president has made changes in the Department of Homeland Security. He just is replacing Kristi Noem. He ensured that the ICE officers are wearing body cam. What else?
Yeah.
Well, this is, you just touched on it. This is exactly the pattern of.
What else do you want from Trump? The man is doing it all. Come on now.
Democrats, they move the goalposts time after time. They don't like Kristi Noem. Okay, they made the change in personnel. They say we want body cams. Of course, I do too. And even the officers want body cams. That indemnifies the officers as much as it helps the individuals that they're dealing with.
Yep.
And these are just common sense measures that they want to engage in, and they still say no to funding.
Real quick, Mr. Chairman, are you going to support the Pentagon's request for more money? Is it $50 billion?
I don't know the dollar figure, but yes, we're going to support it. I guess what they'll probably do is make that calculation based on what we've done thus far and kind of extrapolate what they need going forward based on current expenditures. But yes.
All right, Mr. Chairman, great to have you. Thank you so much, Congressman Rick Crawford. That'll do it for us on Sunday Morning Futures. I'll be seeing you tomorrow morning on Mornings with Maria on Fox Business. Join us. We've got more break.
Well, there you go, man. Trump is doing his best. And every time he does something for the country that everybody loves, the mainstream media doesn't talk about it. So small podcasters got to do the talking. And a lot of podcasting are going against Trump now. That's crazy. They are turning their backs. And if you ask me, they're doing it for clicks and for views and to get a different audience. An audience that doesn't mind getting lied to, because they've been getting lied to from the mainstream media for years, forking up that money and just giving them views and giving them attention. But we got to fight it. And that's it. We got to work with Trump, who's doing his best to secure both the other side of the country, of the world, and America. All right, let's see what he got to say.
Found themselves stranded in the region for 5 days. High school students Bryson Begg and Tommy Royals join us now. So welcome home.
Glad they made it.
Tell us how you escaped.
Well, we were stranded for 5 days, and then essentially the teachers, we thought we were going to leave on Thursday afternoon, and then.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. So those students, I'm glad they made it. But what do you think? What's going on? Why are podcasters like Candace Owens and what's the other one, Tucker Carlson, are turning their back on Trump? You got to kind of think these people are